Hello, everyone. I am Krandall Brantley for Buckeyes Daily, man. Let's get to it. It is officially Penn State week. We are here. I know people might say it's not the 1-2 matchup we were expecting. It's not the top five matchup from last year or years prior. In my opinion, this is still a big game, and I'll explain why. It's still Jim Knowles. We didn't forget he skipped out on national championship parade. He allegedly asked for a contract extension during the week they're preparing for a national title. Doesn't make sense at all. And so not only did he leave, he goes to a conference rival, a longtime rival in Penn State. And so, not like he was, let's say, the DB's coach and didn't see a path to being defensive coordinator at Ohio State. And he was like, hey guys, I appreciate your time here, but I have a chance to get the bag at Penn State and be a position I want to be. That could be understandable. Ohio State wanted to offer him like the highest paid DC job in the country. He got that at Penn State, but it's kind of odd. But nevertheless, he did do what he was supposed to do, bring a title to Columbus and get the defense right. But this doesn't make sense for you to want to go to a rival unless it was personal. And so I don't think this was strictly business, it was personal. And so here we are. I think OSU defense is fired up. I think the offense is fired up. The coaches are fired up for this game, regardless of Penn State's record going into it. I'll say this. Jim Knowles has an opportunity to do what Tony Alford did last year. You know, when he left for Michigan to take the same role there after being at Ohio State for 9 years. I get it didn't work out here, but shouldn't it be like in your blood to want to, that Scarlet Gate should be in your blood at that point to not want to go the maize and blue. But anyway, he got people clowning him throughout the year because Michigan kept losing. But what happened? He ended up winning in the shoe, and there's a photo of him just cheesing while he's running off the field because they had just did the unexpected and won in Columbus. We don't want to see Jim Knowles do that. We don't want that. Like, imagine a scenario where Penn State is planting a flag on a block O. Jim Knowles is talking trash in the press conference, and the fans are talking trash, and we're like, all right, well, we'll see y'all next year. No, next year. Penn State not on the schedule until 2028. Based on how they're playing now, I don't see them making it to the conference title game or the playoff. Maybe they get a better coach, and that happens, but I don't see that happening at this point. So OSU has to win this game, or their players, their fan base has 3 years of bragging rights. Nah, that can't happen. So it's still a big game. And so I see what's going on. OSU should destroy these dudes. Like, I get that, but recent history hasn't shown me that OSU is going to do that. They win these games, but Penn State always competes. Let's think about the Franklin era. Like, they got destroyed 2013 by like 50, and then the following year, whiteout, double OT. JT Barrett had to fight and crawl to win that game. Joey Bosa, incredible sack. This mauled the old lineman into Hackenberg at that time to end it. And then we had 2015. The score, I think Penn State obviously won by like 4 scores, but remember Cardinal Jones got booed, and then they replaced him with Barrett, got the offense rolling, and then they whooped them. It was close in the first half. 2016, We know what happened. That's Penn State's win. It's probably James Franklin's best win of his time period. 2017, banger, classic. 2018, classic. Shout out, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins, the late great Dwayne Haskins on that one. 2019, everything on the line. Game day was there. Big Noon, Big Ten Network. That was great game, and it was closer to what it should have been. Some turnovers, but Penn State came to play. And then they covered 2020 and 2021. They came to play, and 2022 they were up in the fourth quarter. 2023, OSU controlled, but only won by a touchdown. And last year, the classic goal line stand. So based off that, it hasn't been Ohio State blowouts. I still think Penn State is going to come off the bye week, and they're going to play fired up. Nothing to lose. Just like Michigan last year, nothing to lose, and they came to the shoe with that mentality. And so don't sleep on Penn State in this game. I expect an OSU win, but I'll say this. I hope OSU fans aren't upset if it's a little bit sluggish in the first half and then OSU pulls away in the second half. A win is still a win in this rivalry. That's how I see it. And so when that happens, don't take it for granted because we don't get this the next 3 years. Okay, how OSU could lose this game? All right. They're not losing. All right, but let me talk. They had to do it in an ugly fashion. Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton have to gash OSU's defensive line, and they have to let the rain do its part and hope that it's just a rainy day like Michigan State in 2015. And the run game is going, they're winning the trenches, some turnovers. Here's another way. There could be a special teams blunder by Ohio State. I know Penn State had a blocked field goal for a touchdown last week, and taking the lead there, that could play a role. And their freshman quarterback is from Ohio. He's going to have something to prove. Not played great against Iowa, but at the same time, we don't know much about this guy. We knew about Drew Aller for 3 years. We knew about James Franklin. Now they have an interim coach in Tim Skipper, and he might have some trick plays in the book if the game is close to make things happen. That's the only scenario I see Penn State somehow doing this, but I expect OSU to be fired up and go ahead and get this dub. Julian saying, man, he's been different. I see these numbers. Hasn't thrown an interception since week 3. No interceptions in week 3. That's before Big Ten play. So no interceptions since Big Ten play has started. 80% completion rate, over 1,800 passing yards, and 19 touchdowns. And he could have better stats if they had to. Like, with this offense, with the talent they have, JJ, Carnell Tate, Max Clare, Ennis, and the running backs, Bo Jackson, Isaiah West is there, James Peoples, Donaldson. With this offense, I think that Julian's saying if he had to put the team on his back like Stroud did in 2021, the defense wasn't as great. I think he could do that and speed the pace up if they had to. They don't. Like, OSU is trying to limit their possessions at times and limit their plays. They turned it up a little bit against Wisconsin. I'll do that. But it just shows that Julian's saying the way he's playing, he could turn things up if they had to. The defense has been great. And this could come down. I don't want to ignore the game. But the Heisman race could come down to Fernando Mendoza in Indiana going all out, saying and JJ. And whoever plays the best in the Big Ten title, if that were to happen, could be the one holding the trophy up in New York for the Heisman Trophy. So, all the ball we played. We should have known that Julian saying was going to be a dog. He came in, and they already had a quarterback. Aaron Nolan was already there. And then the coaching staff said, okay, you can come here, but you got to compete. The following year, Devin Brown in the program for a while, he hits the portal. And then Aaron Nolan hits the portal. And so we should have known that Sayan was that guy not to happen. And look, this is the GOAT. Nick Saban, the GOAT, said this. They were losing to Texas a couple years ago, Nick Saban's last year at Alabama. And sometime after the game, maybe it was after the season, Nick Saban admitted that he wished that he had Julian Sayin for that game to replace Jalen Milroe. There was one minor issue. Julian Sayin was still in high school. That's how much the GOAT thought about Julian Sayin at that time. And so OSU, talent, and he can win the Heisman this year. So, the SEC suspended the ref from the Georgia-Auburn game in Week 7, and that is Ken Williamson. Ken Williamson was a lead ref for that game, and there were some bad calls in this game. Apparently, there were 8 or 9 calls that the SEC said that were wrong for this, and there were some pretty blatant bad calls that had swung this game. And I didn't get to watch the game live. My boy was texting me during the game, and he said, like, this is terrible, man. Like, Auburn's getting robbed. Kirby's got some money on the line because he's getting all the calls. And I'm thinking, like, all right, he's got a couple calls, but it wasn't that bad. I checked the highlights, and yes, it was that bad. For context, Jackson Arnold, Auburn's quarterback, he had a QB sneak, and he reached out for the goal line, and in slow motion, you can see in 4K that he crossed the goal line with the ball. And then after that, Georgia player strips the ball. And so you see the replay, it's officials, and the refs decide to call it a fumble, recovered by Georgia, even though it's right there. And then later on in the game, you had Georgia's head coach, Kirby Smart, appearing to call a timeout. And then in the same sequence, he is like clapping his hands. And when the refs stopped to call a timeout, he says, no, I wasn't calling timeout. I was clapping my hands because I was imitating what the Auburn players were doing, and it was illegal because they were clapping their hands, which is like trying to showcase our signals, which is illegal. And I'm like, and so the refs hear this and decide to not charge Georgia with the timeout, and they stopped the clock. They stopped the clock and didn't call a timeout for them. Like, that's only 2 of the calls. Those are the biggest calls. This is why it's important for Ohio State fans. This ref, Ken Williamson, he was the lead ref for the Clemson-Ohio State game in 2019, the Fiesta Bowl. Remember? 16-zip, OSU, second quarter. And Sean Wade, a targeting call on Sunshine. Yeah, that was Ken Williamson's crew. A terrible, terrible call. And then Clemson goes on to score 21 unanswered points. And then the next horrendous call. Jeff Okudah strips the Clemson receiver. And you can see on the replay, this receiver takes like 6 steps after catching the ball. Strip, scoop and score by Jordan Fuller. And the refs review this and they say that it wasn't a catch. He didn't have full possession. He took like 6 steps for the ball. This was completely awful. And SEC call, they might say, like, oh, this is a ACC Big Ten game. Why is this important? Well, the Clemson win guaranteed the South was going to win that title for like the 5th plus year at that point. Clemson had already won some titles, and then as they played LSU in the title game, they got robbed, and that was the best OSU team that I've seen in my lifetime. And I get it, LSU was a juggernaut; they were the truth, but I'd say OSU had a chance to win that game. I'm not gonna say that they were guaranteed to win. They had a chance. So that defense and all the weapons on offense, that was the most complete team that I've seen. It would have been a classic game. At the very least, we got robbed of a classic national title game. And that was Ken Williamson, the lead ref. All right. Go Bucks. I'll see y'all later.